This is a review of the external structures of the brain. The thing about when you're watching this video is I'm holding the brain right now like it'd be sitting in my body. So this is where my forehead would be, and if I turn the brain around, this is the back of my head. Consider is this is my left hand. My left hand is going to show up on the right side of your screen. So with our brain, the first thing you need to know is the cerebrum. The cerebrum is this main portion of our brain. And a lot of times you'll hear people say that your brain's divided into two sections. You have your cerebrum, which is the main portion, and then the cerebellum, which is like the smaller brain. So with our cerebrum, you need to know the lobes of the brain. The lobes of the brain are really similar to the bones of your skull. So you have your frontal lobe, which is going to be near your forehead. Then you have the parietal lobe. The parietal lobe is found on top of your brain, the left and the right parietal lobe. The next lobe that you need to know is the temporal lobe. And the temporal lobe is going to be on the side, and you can see the difference. I'm following my frontal lobe right now, and then it kind of dips down into a half circle, and that's your temporal lobe. You have one on the right and the left side. And then the final lobe that you need to know is the occipital lobe. The occipital lobe is in the back of the brain. So going over those lobes really quickly again, you have the frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe on the sides, and occipital lobe in the back. Another thing you need to know on your cerebrum is you need to know the difference between a sulcus and a gyrus. So a sulcus are going to be these dark grooves in our brain. It kind of looks like the wrinkles in our brain. Those are called a sulcus. And a gyrus is going to be these tanner spaces that you find between the sulcus. So we're looking for a particular sulcus, and we're looking for the central sulcus, which is going to run across our frontal lobe. You want to find the part of the frontal. So right here is my central sulcus. And then to find the precentral gyrus, I'm going to look at the folds or the smooth parts right. And to find the postcentral gyrus, I'm going to go backwards for my central sulcus towards the back of the brain and find those empty spaces behind it. And the last thing on the cerebrum that you need to locate is the fourth ventricle. The fourth ventricle is found between the two hemispheres of your brain. It's going to be this space right here. Now we're going to move on to the cerebellum. Here's the cerebellum, the back part of your brain. And on top of the cerebellum, kind of right in between those two hemispheres of your cerebrum, you have this portion right here, and that's called the vermis. And now we're going to flip our brain over, so we're looking at the underside. On the underside of the brain, the first thing you need to be able to locate are the olfactory bulbs. The olfactory bulbs are going to be on the opposite side of the frontal lobe. Here's one, and here's half of the other on the other side. So you have olfactory bulbs. And then if you look below your olfactory bulbs, you're going to structure. This V-shaped structure is called the optic chiasm. And the optic nerves would be attached to the optic chiasm right here. You'll have to be able to say where the optic nerves would be, but you can only see them when there's still eyes attached to a brain. Below the optic chiasm is the olfactory tract, which is just this area right here. And then also below it, we're going to have mammillary bodies, which are these two bumps near the hole. So going over that again, you have your olfactory bulbs, your optic chiasm, your olfactory tract, your optic nerves would be here, and your mammillary bodies. The last thing that you have to know are the parts of the brainstem. The brainstem is going to be this portion coming off of the cerebellum. So if we start near the bottom, this is the bottom of the brainstem. This first is called the medulla oblongata, right here. And then right above that is the pons. So we have bottom of the brainstem, medulla oblongata, and pons. So hopefully this video was helpful. Review this video. There's lots and lots of resources online, other videos, labeled pictures to help you for your lab practical. You'll need to know all the external structures on your lab practical list for your test. And what your test will look like is, I will say, show me the parietal lobe, and you will point to the parietal lobe. and that will get you your points. So, happy studying!